everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on an amazing episode of Quarantine Chats Wealthy Wednesday. My name is Michelle Hockett, and I'm a content marketing media specialist at Spotify, and I'm also the founder of It's Epic Group. It's Epic is a creative and professional networking platform that is looking to connect creatives and professionals with other dope creatives and professionals. So if you're a freelancer, a strategist, an artist, you name it, we aim to connect you with other creative and professionals that may need your services. And if you're a brand, an entrepreneur, an artist, we aim to connect you with creatives who can help you. So if you're interested in joining our network, please head over to itsepicgroup.com and follow us on It's Epic Group on Instagram to join. Now, today's chat is Wealthy Wednesday. We wanted to do this last week, but given everything that was happening in the world, it just didn't feel right. But now we wanted to switch the narrative and recognize why now is more important than ever for us to be financially smart, know how to invest in ourselves and our businesses. So I have 4 amazing financial professionals here with me today to give you all of the deets about investing, wealth, generational wealth, building your business and everything. So I'm going to introduce them now. So first we have Chelsea. Chelsea Ransom Cooper is a certified financial planner at Baker Avenue Wealth Management. Here, Chelsea manages high net worth families to guide them through their financial lives while specializing in tax planning and overall financial planning. Outside of Baker Avenue, Chelsea is a volunteer tax preparer for low-income families in New York City and is a member of the Association of African American Financial Advisors. Everyone say hi to Chelsea. Next, we have Tevin. Tevin Hodge is a financial advisor at Fortis Lux Financial. He entered the financial industry in 2014, where he began his career as a financial service representative. Tevin finds his passion in helping others financially prepare in the next step of their lives, which always isn't easy. He prides himself in creating long-lasting relationships with his clients and educating as many people as he can along the way. Say hi to Tevin. Next, we have Shania, the People's CPA. Shania Wilson is a certified public accountant and a real estate investor. She is the founder and CEO of Fulla Financial LLC, a firm dedicated to educating and providing exceptional financial services to creatives, entrepreneurs, and travel nurses. Additionally, Shania is an IRS accredited tax program to teach others how to prepare taxes as an additional income stream. She's also an accounting professor at the prestigious universities, including Baruch, Queens College, and Rutgers University. Give it up for Shania. And last but not least, we have Jason. Jason Ray is the founder and CEO of Zenith Solutions LLC, a registered investment advisor in Philadelphia that strives to simplify the journey to build wealth for underdeserved communities. He grew up in Detroit, Michigan, where he studied school suspension, policy, and gang violence in his senior thesis during his 4 years at Princeton University, where he obtained a politics degree. He's a level 3 chartered financial analyst candidate and is a student at the University of Pennsylvania's Diverse Force on Boards program. He was an all-conference football player at Princeton and continues his athletic pursuits in Philadelphia in competitions like the D10, which support pediatric cancer treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering. He lives with his wife and dog Coco in Rittenhouse Square. Give it up for Jason. So I just want to give everyone the opportunity to really make this conversation as flowing as possible. Please use the chat button to communicate with everyone if any good points have really registered with you. Use the Q&A buttons and we can definitely answer all of your questions along the way. We want you guys to get the most out of this for you guys, because as we said, it's more important than ever right now to really know about yourself financially and how you can really set yourself up for success. So I'm going to start off with a series of poll questions just to get a temperature of the room of where you guys are financially, the knowledge that you guys may know, and things that you guys may be interested in. So I'm going to start it now. It seems like a lot of you guys are on the right path, already have an IRA or brokerage account, emergency funds. So it's great. Chat ended, LOL. So while these populate, I'm going to start asking the panelists a few questions so we can really get to know them and their specializations. So, for example, Chelsea is going to really hone in on the knowledge of financial planning and your financial literacy. Tevin is going to be the one to really go to about insurance and legacy. Shania can tell you everything about creating your own business and financially supporting it. And Jason will talk about investing. So my first question is for everyone, what inspired you to be in the financial services industry? Chelsea, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, I'll go for it. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining. Also, thank you, Michelle, for putting this together. It's super timely, and I hope everyone has pen and paper. You got your notes open on your phone because we're about to drop a lot of free game. It's going to be really good information. So I hope you're all taking notes. So the first things first, what inspired me to be in the financial services industry? And it started with my mom. I saw how she raised me and a lot of the challenges that she had when it came to finances. She didn't have anyone to ask those questions to. So I constantly saw kind of the back and forth and the challenges she had, and that always sat in the back of my mind. Fast forward to college and post-college, I worked in a Big Four accounting firm where I was doing finances and more so on the accounting side, but for businesses, not necessarily for people. So then I started to see friends, family really have financial questions, and they didn't have anyone to ask those questions to. And more specifically, they didn't have anyone that looked like me either. So then that's when I really decided that I wanted to be that person and I wanted to offer them that financial guidance.
Nice.
I guess I'll jump in next. Similar to Chelsea, it started with my mom as well. Raised as a single parent in a single parent household. My mom, made certain sacrifices for, of course, the betterment of the household. So when I went to college, as any Caribbean parent, she wanted me to be a doctor, but took chemistry, it wasn't for me. And I knew I wanted to do business or own my own business, just didn't really know in what aspect. So when I graduated, I applied to nothing but business jobs. And to be honest, I kind of fell into the profession. That was the first phone call that I got. Went on the interview, I liked what I heard. Went to that company, I stayed there for 2 years, I fell in love with it. Recently transitioned to another company 3 years ago. And I've, grown more respect for the profession. So that's kind of how I've gotten to finance. So it was just growing up in a single parent household, seeing the sacrifices and knowing that I wanted better for my community and my friends.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. So for me, I always had a love for math and numbers to the point where I did skip a grade in first grade, didn't go to second grade. So I graduated every education very, very early, finished my MBA at 21 years old because I skipped a grade. I was always good at math. I love math. But what inspired me to be in finance was seeing the need for CPAs to help Black businesses grow. I did work in a Big Four accounting firm similar to Chelsea. And again, I was working on these huge clients and, auditing these billion-dollar transactions. And it dawned on me that a lot of small minority businesses will never even get to see $1 billion. And a part of that reason is poor financial structure and poor cash flow management, which is why when you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you do need to have a CPA or a financial expert on your team to help you grow. So I saw the need for that. The same time I started my financial practice, a lot of my friends were leaving their corporate jobs to become entrepreneurs. So it was an easy transition from corporate to running the business and helping these small business owners. From then, it's been a blessing to have worked with more than 200 business owners throughout the past 3 years that I've been in business and playing a part in their growth. It means a lot to me. And again, just understanding that financial literacy and business acumen will take you a very, very long way. So if you're serious about building generational wealth and increasing wealth in our communities, you have to understand the language of money. You have to. And that's my story.
Nice.
Amen to that. I would say I agree, and I appreciate everybody's story, and thank you, Michelle, for setting up this panel. Looking back, I can see a lot of people that were close to me making financial mishaps when I was younger, but I think it really became clear and obvious that I wanted to get in the profession. I worked in a role that sold investments and products to financial advisors, and people in my community and in my family and in my friend groups started reaching out to me about just financial advice. And I would take a look at really the ones who were being served by other financial advisors. And I noticed that a lot of the Black people that were around me, frankly, were being underserved by their advisors. I feel like I knew what was on the menu at these firms, and I couldn't really understand. And I had an inkling about why they weren't in these portfolios that I was looking at. So when working with other financial advisors, I figured out how to start the business and figured out how to create margin in it, and felt like I could do it to scale and help people that were in my own family, friend group, and community, and I think the broader Black population. So yeah.
Nice. All of your stories are super inspiring, and it is really important to have, people who look like us helping us build our finances. So that leads me to my next question. What does generational wealth mean to you, and how are you guys currently building it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle. I'd say generational wealth to me means that my family and the next generation doesn't have to start from a deficit or a negative balance. They're able to start either in a positive way or at least start from fresh. And really the key thing that I think about, especially for our community, with that is a quote where it says, knowledge can provide the best interest. So really meaning that knowledge and education can push you forward more than anything. And I think that's what I try to do in my personal family as well, is trying to give them the education and the stepping stones so then they can go and build multiple streams of income as well. So for example, for my mother, I put her in a fantastic tax program that is held by Shania. It's the Tax and Essentials Learning Program that my mother completed. And now she is able to do tax preparing. And that's an additional stream of income for her. And that's really just because I encouraged her and gave her the knowledge so that she could do more.
Wow, that's amazing. Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah. So generational wealth for me, it's similar again to Chelsea. It's more about the education. I feel like people when they think of wealth, they think about a dollar sign or like what's in your bank account or what assets do you have. But really, the wealth is more so the knowledge and how you apply it. And to me, it's more so about just getting the knowledge out there, and hopefully, lands on somebody's ears that's going to use it. And that's impacting another generation. It may not be my kids directly, but, it's going to be the people that my kids grow up with or the people that their kids grow up with. So it all starts with just getting the knowledge out there. Because if we were all wise to how easy it is to make your money work for you, we wouldn't be in a lot of the financial situations that we are as a people.
Definitely. So let's jump into some of the fun questions. So question for Shania, how can we start building our own table? How do we determine what type of entity we should set up? Should it be an LLC, an S Corp? What advice do you have?
So first and foremost, because everyone's like, I don't know what type of business to start. And I like to look at it from two different angles. You can either start a business based off of current needs, or you can start a business based off of your passion. I remember back in the day, used to hear people say, like, don't go to college and major in art because you'll be broke. I have clients who are artists that make a lot of money because they're passionate about it. And as you know, with passion, you're going to do your hardest and you're going to succeed the most because you're doing what you love. So don't let anyone deter you from following your passion, because it can reap benefits as long as you stay committed to it. I'm passionate about numbers, which is why I do what I do. If you're passionate about cooking, if you're passionate about art, or if you're passionate about construction, whatever it is, definitely hone in on that, because you don't ever want to go into entrepreneurship and then get bored or tired of what you're doing. Your business will fail. When you are an entrepreneur, there's no boss telling you that you have to meet quotas. There's nobody on your back telling you that the work is not done on time. It's literally up to you to get the job done. So it's easiest to do when you are actually passionate about what you're doing. But if you need help finding your passion and you just want to start a business, look at needs, right? If you think of what necessities are, you can start a business from almost anything, right? The same way we use smartphones. Someone wanted to take their phone on the go with them and not have to drag the cord through the house with them. How about I invent a wireless phone? So it started off with the wireless phone, and you can like free range perhaps for what, like 10 feet out the house using your wireless phone. If you know you're born in the 90s, you remember that type of phone. But then from that, someone's like, well, I need to take my phone outside. And that's how cell phones were invented. Even when it comes down to forks, somebody was eating like, I'm tired of eating with my hands. Let me make a fork. Somebody was like, I'm tired of walking outside barefoot. Let me make shoes. So if you look at current needs, and especially because a lot of these huge corporations are making billions off of innovation, literally. If you think of Zoom, the platform we're using right now, somebody thought of an idea, how can I bring people together? We have smartphones and we have FaceTime, but what if you have a phone that don't have that? Or what if you want to join a line through your computer? How can we conduct meetings virtually? And now Zoom is one of the fastest growing stocks due to this whole pandemic. So again, look at the current needs and what's going on and use that to create your business model. In terms of picking an entity, it literally depends on, number one, your business risk, and then two, the ownership structure and level of protection that you want. So that's really three. If you are in a riskier business, so say you are in a business of like biochem, you want to go and incorporate in the state and pick a structure that's going to offer you the maximum protection. So typically, if you are in a dangerous, not dangerous, but like a high risk business, whether it's, again, some type of biochem or whether it's a startup, because that's very high risk as well, people tend to flock to states like Nevada, not because of the tax breaks, because they don't have great tax breaks. What they do is offer great corporate protection for C Corps. And that's when you want to go get that type of corporation. If you're starting a business, you can always begin with an LLC. They are the easiest to form. They require the less compliance, and you can change ownership. So whether you start single and have a partner, you can always change what the structure is. The good thing about LLCs is that you can also change the tax structure. If you are a single member LLC, your default tax is a sole proprietorship. If you are a multi-member LLC, your default tax is a partnership. However, LLCs can also elect to be taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp. So they do allow for flexibility when it comes to how you're taxed. But again, if you're looking for more protection, you want to go for a corporation. And then if you want a combination of the two where it's easy to form, but you get some protection, then you want to look at S Corps. Partnerships are basically LLCs. They can be limited or general, created whether it's formally an entity or whether it's through paper. But you want to make sure that you enforce protection whenever you are choosing entities. So again, whether you do LLC, know how protected you are and what the corporate law is for that specific state. And then again, if it's C Corp or S Corp, look at those states to figure out how much protection you will get from that corporation. And then once you pick your entity, you also want to take in mind your actual taxation process. So whether you are going to be taxed as a sole proprietor or as a partnership or as a C Corp or as an S Corp, those should go into your decision making as well. And that's my tea on entity structure 101.
Nice. That was definitely a mouthful and a lot of things that I didn't know myself. So thank you for that. That was definitely so helpful. So I know a lot of people have been talking about investing right now. What should they be doing with their stocks? So especially in quarantine, things are going up and down and everything. So right now, the market has had an incredibly quick recovery over the last few weeks with coronavirus, and stocks are hitting an all-time high. Jason, do you think now is still a good time to invest, or did people miss out on their opportunity before?
Yeah, no, that's, let me break out my crystal ball here. Yeah, that's a tough question. I think that investing is critical to creating long-term wealth and building generational wealth, I guess to the question earlier. It's not a short-term game, right? It's a long-term game. So, I think time in the market or time in investing is more important than timing the market or investing. If stocks are the way for you to invest, getting started now and starting to put a portion of your savings bi-weekly or monthly or the money you have saved up now into the market and finding companies that you think have high growth potential, but also are doing things that you care about, right? So if you care about the environment, invest in companies that have low carbon footprint, right? Like Zoom. Or if you care about racial and gender equity, right? Invest in companies that have integrated that into their hiring practices. But there's other ways to invest, right? In real estate, in business ownership and investing in business. So finding that right path to invest, I think stocks are the most accessible and the easiest way to do it. The media is, talking about, you open the Wall Street Journal, it's right in your face to invest now and invest in stocks and open a Robinhood account, right? I don't think, I think if you're just getting started, the timing is not so relevant. If you're thinking about retirement, right now, I think the market could have some more downside risk than upside potential at this point. But again, I'm not an oracle, right? I think it depends on your plans and your objectives, and what you're willing to put at risk.
Yeah, and I guess as a follow-up question, how much percentage should people put of their salary into investing?
Yeah, savings rate is big. I would love to hear Chelsea's thoughts about just how much people should be saving of their paychecks, right? I think I find that if their fixed expenses in their life are less than half of their salary each month, putting away a third of that kind of spread. So if you make $1 and you spend 50 cents on investing, putting another 15 or 16 cents into investing is key. But I think it depends on your own personal situation, right? And I think if you're good at investing in real estate and you want to own property, or if you have a business and you want to invest in your business and kind of funnel money and generate return through your business, those same rates apply. But yeah, I think it's going to differ for everybody. It depends on how much money you make, right?
Yeah. And I think Jason just gave me the lob over there. So really, when you're thinking about saving and how much it should be, I'd say that kind of the key things, I'll start off from the beginning, right? We want to make sure that we have our basics done, but it really depends on your timeline when it comes to saving, so you know what to prioritize. So Michelle just did this survey, and we know a lot of people have their emergency fund, so that's good to know. That means we've got our 3 to 6 months where we're on our way. We've made it inconvenient. It's not in the same bank as our checking account. It's in a high yield, so it's at something that's producing over 1%. And we have multiple savings accounts. So we have our emergency fund, but then we also have, if there's stuff for less than, I'd say 12 to 24 months from now. So thinking about, hopefully, if we can travel again, a travel fund. If you know you're planning to buy a house soon, a house fund, et cetera, et cetera. Also, I would encourage, when you're looking at your emergency fund, kind of keep in mind the situation that we're in right now. For example, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People are getting furloughed and laid off. We want to make sure that we really have enough money in there. Also, we're seeing how people are maneuvering, specifically employers, during this, also the racial injustice that we're seeing. So worst case scenario, make sure you're prepared is what I'm saying. Lastly, I would say when it comes to investing, you really want to make sure how much risk do you want to take on? And then again, what is your timeline? So we have our short term, like I said, less than 12 or 24 months. We have our long term, which is retirement, could be years from now for a lot of people. But then what happens in the middle, right? Because there's a lot of life that you still have to live. You want to buy a house. You want to make sure that you're prepared for opportunities as well. Also, since a lot of us have been in the house, I think it's been a great awakening to seeing what you've really been spending money on. And you might be surprised that actually you thought you needed X amount of dollars a month, and that's how much you needed in salary. Now I know some people are living off of 1 check or maybe 1.5 checks. So right now, if you are in that scenario, 3 places where I would increase my savings are 401k, make sure you're getting that match, and making sure that you're opening a Roth IRA if you haven't already, especially if you're making less than $124,000. And then you can start looking at a brokerage account. I really like to call that an opportunity fund, because that's really where any opportunities that present themselves, maybe you want to buy real estate with some friends, or you want to buy your first home, things like that come in the middle. That's when you want to be prepared for that as well. So it's not a hard-on percentage, sorry. But what I can say is take a look at your finances, look at your cash flow, see some of the opportunities that you're seeing since you've cut back a lot, probably during this pandemic, and push that money to build wealth, because that's really what the goal is for our community and for our families as well. We got to build as much wealth as possible.
Yeah, definitely need to open a few more savings accounts now that you said that. So I guess talking about legacy, since, you know, we're trying to build wealth for our family, Tevin, how can we leave a legacy for our family? What do you suggest?
So earlier I mentioned, as far as like, you know, leaving a legacy being the knowledge, but on the financial side, leaving a legacy is just, you know, more so, I look at it twofold. It's, you know, if you live a long and successful life, you know, and then when you eventually pass away, you want to make sure something's left over to your kids or, you know, the next generation. Just make sure that you do it wisely. So it's like working with attorneys, first of all, to set up wills, trust, because I've had situations personally with clients that did not have a will in place or a trust in place, and they passed away. Assets were supposed to go to one person. Cousin Skeeter from Jersey comes out of the woodworks and says, no, it was meant for me. It goes to court, lawyer fees, all that. By the time you add all that stuff up, you know, what you intended to leave that person may either be nothing at that point, or, you know, you may have hurt them because of legal fees. So one, with creating a legacy for people, just making sure that what you intend to leave them is left in the right manner. Whether you don't have to be rich to have a trust. Everyone should have some type of basic will, a living will. But people think of trust as like, oh, I got to be a trust fund baby, or there has to be money. Like, it's like, no, a trust honestly is to protect you from creditors. Or like if you're sued for, like, you, God forbid, hit somebody with your car and then they try to sue you for everything. Like, you know, a trust protects your assets in that regards. So that's on the protection side of the trust. But building legacy, let's say, like, you know, you come from a low income family and, you know, you don't have all these assets to pass on, or you want to leave your kids something, but you just don't have it. I think the best gift is life insurance. The easiest way to do it is life insurance. That's the cheapest way to do it. That's how the Jews built their wealth. They built it on life insurance and credit. They had good credit scores, and they made sure when they passed away, they left $1 million life insurance policy to someone to start a business, or to, like, you know, do something that's going to advance the next generation and not have a struggle behind them not being there. I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to say for that.
Yeah, definitely need life insurance. If your company's not giving it to you, definitely invest into it. So the next question.
Sorry, because you said company last time.
Oh, yeah, no, say your company.
So for example, perfect situation, Chelsea brought up that, you know, a lot of companies are laying people off with the pandemic and being furloughed. I am a strong proponent of having life insurance through your company. Exhaust the life insurance that you can get through your company, because it's the cheapest life insurance you will get. But every person should have an individual policy for themselves. Because 9 times out of 10, when you leave that company and you go to a new one, or let's say you go into entrepreneurship, that life insurance policy that you had there that you was paying at that company is 9 times out of 10 not portable. You cannot take it with you. It's only something you have while you work there. So you want to have something for yourself, because let's say you work at that company for 20 years, you leave, you're 20 years older now, and you try to get your own individual policy because now you need it. You're older and your health is probably not as good. So it's going to be way more expensive than had you gotten it when you were younger and healthy.
Wow.
Last tidbit.
That's definitely good to know. That's free game right there, everyone. So my next question is for Shania, more about businesses and real estate. What can we do to start investing in real estate? I've heard a lot of my friends say, like, they want to buy property. What can we do to start to buy and selling and renting, and just, you know, basically own the block?
Right. Mm-hmm. So obviously, since I'm from New York, you know, and real estate is very, very expensive out there, I always take a low cost approach to all of my investments. I want to go in at the lowest rate and get the highest return that I can. So currently I'm actually in Detroit because I do have 2 properties out here with an amazing partner. And I have a single family residence and an 8-family unit, which is the commercial property. the way to get started is, again, to start where you can afford. Our first property we bought for $1,300. We're currently fixing that one up now, but in hopes to sell it for $140,000. Our 8-unit that we bought, we got it for a really good price of $20,000. Every single month, we can expect to make around $8K from that one property when expenses would be less than $1,000 for the month. So that's basically $7,000 in profit every single year for the rest of our lives. So if you can't afford to invest where you currently are, let's not ever forget that the world is much bigger than our current environment. People, think that because you are in New York, we have to invest in New York. I'm all the way in Detroit. I met my partner last year. So if you want to build wealth, opportunity is elsewhere as well. But if you do want to do it where you are, and you'd have to come over to Detroit, like Philly's right there, Connecticut's right there, where you can get good price properties for a good affordable price. But even if you want to start in New York, because New York is always going to grow. Like, that's an ever-growing city, even though it is overinflated. People are still going to pay an arm and a leg for a building because it's just New York, it's the aesthetics, However, if buying a property by yourself is hard, let's start honing in on group economics, right? Just because I may not have 20K to put down on the house doesn't mean that I can contribute my skill. What if I'm a great contractor? I can do your electric work. How about, we get a group where 3 people put money in, whether it's, 20K to get a loan on a property. And then another partner can put in sweat equity, and they can actually be the construction worker and get the house in good shape for us to sell the property. So again, you do want to look at group economics. It's hard to do things by yourself. The only business that I have by myself is Fallout Financial. Every other venture that I have a partner for it. Especially if you're serious about building wealth, you cannot go at it alone. There have been countless times where I called Chelsea, or Chelsea calls me to talk about situations for our clients, because generational wealth is not a single game. It's not even in the word generational wealth. Without a bunch of people, there's no generation, right? So we want to look at it from a tribe perspective. If you can offer things that I can use and vice versa, let's do it together. And that's kind of how you want to take the approach when it comes to getting into the real estate game. So whether it's getting an out-of-state partner so you can start investing at a lower cost and build wealth and equity first so that you can now pull equity and buy a building or a brownstone in New York, that's one approach. Or if you want to start where you are, look at your current friends group. Like, we go to brunch, we go to parties together. My friends are probably tired of me because whenever I'm there, I'm talking about business or how to make more money, because that's what I'm addicted to. The brunch is cool and all, but how can we make a business where our brunch is paid for by our business expenses? That's the type of time I'm on,
Yeah.
So go ahead and evaluate your friend group, see how you guys can work together, because with group economics and with team and character building, anything is possible.
And I think Shanae brought up a really strong point about how group economics and how we need to participate, right? We need to participate in investing. We need to participate in the markets, because that's how we build generational wealth, and that's how we build wealth. And I think the most important thing, where she was talking about going to brunch, but at brunch, we're talking about how we're going to make more money. Like, that needs to be our priority, because unfortunately, we're underserved, and it's just a little bit more challenging for us. So we need to prioritize it more than others.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely all agreed. So guys, remember to ask your questions in the Q&A, talk in the chat. You guys are really quiet over there, but we do have one question in the Q&A. Someone's asked, how do you feel about saving apps like Acorn or Capital?
I'll jump in there. I've used Acorns in the past. Personally use it for my travel fund. But outside of that, I don't necessarily use it for emergency savings or anything like that. I think it's a nice add-on for smaller savings, but I wouldn't use it for the bulk of my bigger savings.
What would you use for those bigger savings?
I like those higher yield options like I was mentioning. So Marcus, Ally, things like that, which are providing over 1%. And typically my checking is at Bank of America. So I wouldn't pick anywhere in Bank of America, because I want to make it inconvenient, and I need to train my mind that I can't just dip into there every time I need something, which is why I like using some of the online spaces.
I think Acorns does bring up, though, a great lesson in just automation, right? And automating your savings and putting it on autopilot so you're not thinking about it. I think the concept of Acorns is great. The actual delivery, to Chelsea's point, could be optimized, right? You can save in much higher yield locations, including automating savings that are going right into an investment account, right? And kind of putting your money in a place where the expected return is a lot higher than inflation and even in high yield savings, right? So the automation, I think, is key though for saving.
Yeah. And then that pay yourself first mindset that Jason is talking about, you'd be surprised if you really automate your savings and put it so it comes out the same day that your paycheck comes in. And I know initially sometimes people are like, Chelsea, you're crazy. I cannot live off of this. You'd be surprised what you can do when that's all that you have left, because you've had it automatically going into, I mean, we're living off of, we put money into our 401k, right? And then we continue to live off of it. So let's do the same thing with our emergency funds. Let's do the same things with, like I like to call it, our opportunity fund. And let's continue to build wealth that way. And you'll really be able to continue to live and grow.
Yeah, I think apps like those, they're the stepping stone for people that have a hard time disciplining themselves with their spending. It's a great way to, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. You just let it come out your account. You don't even think about it. And then, open the app one day and wow, oh, I got $1,000 saved. Like, some people go and spend it, but it's a good stepping stone to at least see that you can do it.
Nice. Yeah. So I know that there are those apps also for investing, like the Robinhood, and all of those, like, hands-on apps. Like, would you guys suggest using those as well? Or are those kind of, similar to the savings apps?
And I think that you really, I'm sorry, Chelsea, go ahead.
Now go for it, Jason. This is all you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so personally I use Stash. Stash is a great app that allows you to automate actually savings and pulling it right from your bank account into an investment portfolio. So you can buy, shares. I'm a big Microsoft investor, so you can buy partial shares of Microsoft with $2. They charge $1 a month, so it's relatively inexpensive. I think Robinhood is a good way to get started investing. I have some qualms about how they actually price the trades that you submit on your own. You probably get a lot better pricing on a platform that's like Charles Schwab or Fidelity, where it's also free trading. But it's easy to use and the interface is great with your phone, right? So there's definitely a trade-off. I think the apps are great though. That's democratizing the ability to invest. I think where those apps fail is kind of giving you that education to your question earlier, Michelle, around like, well, I can invest, like I just downloaded Robinhood and there's all these stocks here, but what should I buy? And like, how much should I invest in Robinhood? So they're great to democratize investing though, and get access to things that can grow and help you, grow your money over time.
Yeah, and I think another great one is, I personally really like Fidelity. And that's simply just for the research standpoint. When you're looking at, Michelle knows this, but when you're looking at stocks specifically, I'll walk down the street or I'll see something during this day and I'll say, wow, this is a really great company. And I like to just make a mental note of it. And then also I like that Fidelity gives you the option to look at ETFs, which are exchange traded funds, which is more so a pool of investments. So if you don't feel comfortable necessarily investing in one stock, you can invest in a pool as well. So I like that one. And then I also like M1 Finance, which is a pretty new one that I've come across. And simply because what they let you do is they break your account into percentages. So for example, if you say you put in $4,000 and you want to put a quarter into an ETF, a quarter into Microsoft, a quarter into Apple, it automatically kind of just assumes how many shares they are and does that for you. So I think M1 is a pretty nice one as well, along with Fidelity.
Chelsea, you can type those into the chat because some people are asking.
Yes, I can.
For some reason, I don't think I can see the chat, but I don't know.
I'm sorry. I had somebody text me on the side.
Oh, no, it's fine. So then also, Robbie actually asked, do you think that you should pay off all of your debt before start saving and investing, or, should you do it at the same time?
So
I feel like,
we got a lot of thoughts.
Let it all out.
All right. My response is pretty quick. people ask me this all the time, like, hey, I got 50K in student loan debt. I have around 60,000 in my bank account. Should I just pay off my student loan debt? No. What you should do is invest that money and figure out a way where you can make $50,000 off of your $50,000 that you would have paid towards your debt, and then think about paying your debt down. But still, I would never smack all my debt down if you can afford to. So before thinking about prioritizing debt, because I have debt, but I'm not ashamed of it because my debt to income is pretty low. So you do want to have a very, very low debt to income ratio, meaning that what you earn per month is a lot larger than your debt per month. Like my monthly payments for my credit cards is probably $1,000. And this is not my real numbers, but say I make 10K a month. I'm not going to prioritize paying down my debt. I'm going to figure out how I can make 20K a month first, and then I can allocate maybe $500 a month to paying off debt. But you have to understand the time value of money, right? If you have 50K and you're paying off your debt, you could have made that money back so many times over had you just invested in the right vehicles. Even if you put it in an account and you're making 10% a year from that account, I would rather use that 10% off that 50K investment to pay off my debt rather than just smacking the debt down. And again, that's only when you have a very, very low debt to income ratio. If you have a very high debt to income ratio, you should prioritize paying down your debt because it's going to hinder you from building wealth. You can't get a loan with the high debt to income ratio. You can't get a mortgage with a high debt to income ratio. You can't operate comfortably with the high debt to income ratio. So if your ratio is high, you should focus on paying down your debt. But if you're comfortable and you can, use that money and invest and build wealth first, worry about debt later. Sallie Mae can wait. Let me make these M's first. When I make a couple M's, and I'm gonna pay Sallie Mae back. But in the meantime, again, your focus should be building wealth and learning how to multiply your money before you pay off your debt, if you could afford to do so. That's my tea on that.
I think Shanae summed it up.
Yeah, I guess just to add in on that, a follow-up question that he had was, what if you don't want to take risk in all of your investments?
Yeah, I think the distinction there is when you pay off debt, it's a guaranteed rate of return that you're giving to your personal ecosystem and net worth.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when you invest in something, there is risk associated with it. That's why you're getting compensated. So I think it's important. Having a low debt to income ratio is super important. I think is the first way you should look at whether or not you should pay your debt. You should also look at the rate that your debt is charging you, right? If you have debt that's charging you 25% in annual percentage yield, and you can only earn 10% potentially by investing in the stock market, pay off that 25% debt or refinance it at a lower rate than what you could earn in investing, right? So I think, paying off a mortgage at 3% when you can go earn 10% in the market doesn't make sense, right? But refinancing debt that's at 20 or 25% to a lower rate, trying to get it below what you could earn on a real estate project or in something else is definitely critical. And there's, interest rates are at almost zero right now, right? This is a great time to go out and look at your debt and say, even if I'm paying 6, 7, 8%, you might be able to go and refinance your debt at a much lower rate, help yourself out over the long term, and go, invest and partner with Shanae on some projects in Detroit.
Yes,
yeah, Shanae, send us the application.
Let us know. So I guess going off of that, Jashelle asked, should you pay off all your debt before starting a business?
So, again, all right, if you are, all right, because there's two scenarios. Some of us start businesses while we're working, full-time still. So you have a little bit more of a cushion to play with. However, if you are going to jump straight into entrepreneurship, honestly, the less headaches that you can drag with you from your transition, the better. So I would say, again, if you plan to just jump full into entrepreneurship, minimize your debt as much as you can. Like, you don't want to be in business and now have, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not cute. I'm dressed up in the guy's shirt. I'm dusty because I'm over here doing construction with these projects. So it's not cute. It's not cute. You're never going to have consistent income. Some months like this, like for me, tax season is like, hey, I'm getting money. And then summertime is like, all right, it's a little dip, because ain't nobody found their taxes. So you have to be prepared, understand that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster and it's not going to be consistent. So if you can do whatever you can while you are thinking about making the transition to make your life a lot easier, so if you do experience a dip, at least you don't have bills to pay. You know, I got to worry about eating and that's it. If you got to eat, you can go to a family member's house and get some food, you know? But if you have to worry about paying your bills, somebody's going to pay your bills for you, you know? So try to minimize and basically stabilize your financial position for sure first before jumping full into entrepreneurship. If you're working part-time or full-time while you are going to start a business, that's different because you have a cushion. But I don't got no cushion, you know? So think about that for sure.
Yeah.
I think
you.
that's, yeah, and I think the summary here that everyone is really saying is there's good debt, there's bad debt. Bad debt is those credit cards with those 20% plus, like Jason's talking about. Knock those out. Yes, you should prioritize those. When we talk about student loans, mortgages, those are different conversations where we can get a little bit more creative and talk about different compare and contrast and refinancing.
Nice. So I guess for people who are still, you know, trying to figure out what type of account should they have, Chelsea, what would you say, how would someone set their financial foundation to make sure that they're covered when, you know, all opportunities arise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I would say is make sure you have your accounts open. A lot of people have an IRA open, but make sure that you know how it works as well. A Roth IRA is absolutely one of my favorite things in the world because a lot of feedback that I get from people is, oh, I have to put more money into a retirement account, but I can't touch it. What if something happens? And that's why I really like Roth IRAs, especially, like I said, if you make under 124,000, you can make a full $6,000 a year into it. But it gives you the flexibility that you can pull out the money you put in. So for example, if you put in $6,000, it grows to $10,000, life happens, you need $6,000. You can pull out what you contributed tax-free, penalty-free.
Nice.
That is the beauty of a Roth IRA, whereas when you're looking at 401ks and other things, you got to pay tax and penalty on it. So I really, really like Roth IRAs. The second reason also is because if you have it open for 5 years, so if you open it today, June 2020, and then in July 2025, that's 5 years from now, you say, oh, I want to buy a house. You can pull out $10,000 for a house, tax-free, penalty-free. These are just the options that you have and the ways you can kind of really use the tools in your favor. So I highly encourage a Roth IRA, number one. Number two, have that brokerage account. I can't tell you how many times an opportunity has presented themselves to a friend or a family member, and they say, oh, I wish I would have saved more, or oh, I wish I would have started investing earlier. So then when Shania comes to me and says, hey, you have $10,000 to put in on a house with me, or hey, we want to put in on starting a business and we need $10,000, they're ready. What I always say is the playbook is pretty simple, but the execution and the discipline is really what the hardest part is. And making sure you write it out. I'm a firm believer in writing everything down. So I keep a piece of paper with 3 columns. I have my short term, so I have my travel fund, my emergency fund, checking account, and then midterm, that's where I have some more of my investment accounts. And then long term, I got my Roth IRA, I got my rollover IRA from old jobs, and I got my 401k. And then I assign a goal for every single account. Now, if for those middle ones, you don't have a goal, that's completely fine because like I said, that is your opportunity fund. And that is your stay ready so you don't have to get ready fund, as I like to call it too. So start building wealth with that one. And I promise you opportunities will arise. So just be ready.
Definitely. So we do have a couple of questions about real estate investment trusts. Is that a great investment vehicles? What are your thoughts on that? We had 2 questions on that.
I would say that they are a good investment if you want to go ahead and get, you know, some earnings from real estate without actually having to put in tens of thousands of dollars to like actually own the property. It's a good stepping stone, but again, it should just be a piece of your portfolio. I think Chelsea, Tevin, and Jason each gave great perspectives on different investment vehicles, right? If you want to look at the total picture of what wealth creation is, you understand that having retirement is important, having life insurance is important, having a side hustle, a side income is important, having assets is important. So real estate investment trust is one of those assets that you can utilize to build wealth, but because they don't typically yield a super high, like you're never going to get a really high, like consistent cash flow as you would with owning a property and having a tenant in there forever. So yes, it's a good vehicle to look in if you want to get started. The good thing about it also is that it provides insight to the real estate game. So if you are invested in a real estate investment trust, you can look at the specific trust, their statements, and you can figure out what they invested in. So some real estate investment trusts may contain hotel properties. Some may contain fast food properties. Because again, even though you see these things, these hotels, McDonald's is a real estate company more than is a fast food company. You know, McDonald's has properties throughout the country, maybe one of the biggest portfolios of property for a company. So you can now look at that specific fund and figure out what they're investing in, what areas, because that can give you insight if you want to start branching out and investing on your own.
Thank you. And
to piggyback off of that, I mean, I like real estate investment trusts. I think though for a beginner investor, that's not, personally, in my opinion, that's not where you want to be. Just because some REITs have limitations. Some of them don't allow you to touch the money past like the first 3 months of the year. So there's a liquidity issue there. If you need your money and you have to go, hey, I need $5,000. Sorry, it's after March. You can't pull your money out. So one, I like real estate investment trusts, but you should definitely do your research on all of them. Read. I know a lot of times we don't like to, some people see pages and they run, but read what's called the prospectus, or the summary prospectus if you don't want to read the entire prospectus, just to see what the actual fund is invested in and how they are invested. Because a lot of these REITs that are like on the retail market, they're not actually invested in the physical property. They're invested in companies that invest in the physical property. Mm-hmm. So there goes like your chances of actually making money in those type of investments or earning high interest, as Shania mentioned, it's drastically cut if you're invested in a REIT that's invested in companies that invest in buildings, mm-hmm. versus one that owns the building.
Yep. And I think that brings to a powerful point where you're talking about looking at the prospectus when you're doing your research. And Jason, I'm interested to hear your perspective as well. Is people tend to ask, where do I start with the research? Okay, Chelsea, you just told me to open these accounts, but where can I start doing my research? Where can I find this prospectus and things like that? I highly, highly encourage you when you're looking at individual positions or trying to figure out where you want to get started, taking a look at what their 10K is, which is what an annual company puts out, where you can really get a better idea of what the company is actually doing. So that's where you can see what their different revenue streams are, how well they've been doing, what is their projections for the following year. Really what I like to see is, do they have additional streams of income? The same way we should have additional streams of income, a company should as well. I don't want to invest in a company where they only do one thing, because when that one thing doesn't work anymore because of COVID or whatever it is, there goes that company. For example, a great example I always use is Disney. They got parks, they got Hulu, they got the Disney Channel, they got merchandise, they got it all. So when those parks shut down, they still had some other income coming in. It wasn't as much, but they still had some other income coming in. And those are the things you want to keep in mind to make sure the value of what you're investing in is still solid.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. I think those are all really solid points. And I think that a real estate investment trust, just like an LLC, is just a legal structure, right? It's a way for somebody to offer a real estate opportunity to investors. All real estate investment trusts are different. There's thousands of them out there. Reading the 10Q and the 10K, to Chelsea's point, and the prospectus to Tevin's point, are all great starting points. But it depends on your objective. If you own a real estate investment trust and you want real estate exposure for tax benefits, it's not going to give you the mortgage interest write-off and the property tax write-off like investing in a project with Shania, right? It will give you potentially a high level of income stream and potentially capital appreciation, but it may give you some volatility as well. I would encourage you to get some outside counsel on any real estate. You can go to my website and ask a question and ask what REIT you're looking at. We'll answer. I'm sure everybody else on here will answer, and give their thoughts around the REIT that you're looking at. But, I think they can be useful, but it depends on the one you want, right?
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely some good insight there. So jumping back into generational wealth, and the reason why a lot of people of color communities are plagued with the stigma of money, financial shame. Sheena asks, what are some suggestions that you would have for those of us who have family members who suffer from that?
I want to chime in here. I feel like, so the biggest problem with our community when it comes to generational wealth is that we don't sit down and talk about money as a family. I literally have clients that husband and wife, married, kids, the husband doesn't know what type of accounts the wife has. Kids don't know anything. God forbid one of them passes away. Now it's a scramble for, okay, well, I know he used to get these statements. Or I know she had this bank account. I think the first step is having an open and honest conversation about money, even though it may be something awkward. If you personally don't want to do it, maybe having a mediator there to do it with you is a good way to do it. Because until you have that conversation, we really can't speak about generational wealth, because I can do everything right in my power, build my legacy, pass on millions of dollars to the next generation. I heard a quote that said, I went to a conference and the person said, it takes 4 generations to build wealth and only 1 to destroy it all. So, your grandparents could have did the right thing, had a portfolio, passed it on to your parents. Your parents took that portfolio, multiplied it 10 times over, left it to you. And then you did everything right, you tripled it, left it to your kids. Your kids sit there and squander everything, and there goes the generational wealth. So it starts with the conversation. If you don't talk to your kids about, like, this is how you should be saving, this is what a budget looks like, this is, these are the investments and the things that you should be looking to do at X, Y, and Z age, or when you have the time to do it, we're never going to get past that family conversation of, like, individuals that are reckless with money, or individuals that are great with money and then they pass it to somebody that's reckless. So yeah, that's my little tidbit. I think it starts with a conversation.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So someone asked if you guys had any books or influencers or any more insight that, like, they can get more information about finance besides the 4 of you, of course.
I'm gonna plug right now. Jason has a fantastic Learn How to Invest program and community. And Shania is the People CPA, where she drops gems all the time. So I'd say we have influencers right here that I encourage everyone to follow.
Thank you. So if you haven't already, I hope most of you who are listening to this chat have at least read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It is a great fundamental book as it comes to financial education, because it breaks down the cash flow quadrants, whether it's business income, income from your job, passive income, investment income. You should know what those things mean and understand that each piece of that puzzle is very important to your development of wealth. So that's for sure. On my website, I do have free resources. So I did write a book 2 years ago called Rake It Up. It's modeled after the Nicki Minaj and Yo Gotti song. It's a free ebook on my website, which is www.folafinancial.com, Fola, F-O-L-A. I'll drop it in the chat as well. But the ebook talks about the fundamentals of personal finance. So understanding the importance of budgeting, saving, credit, and investing. So that's a good way for you to start as well.
I would also add, go ahead, Jason.
Please, Tevin. All right. I think, yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad's an awesome book. Also, just following Black Enterprise, honestly, on Instagram or on any social channels. They post a lot of great stories around people in the Black community that are creating wealth. I think they do a great job of encouraging conversation around wealth building. So I've gotten a lot out of them just following their accounts as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do listen to a lot of financial podcasts like the Wall Street Journal is a good. They have different subcategories as well. So anything that you want to learn, even whether it's real estate investments, like literally the Wall Street Journal has a topic about it. Some of them are boring, but the information it's very good information that they're giving. If you're someone that because sometimes I get asked like for individuals that are like just starting, trying to get out of debt and things like that. One of my friends, she has a great program where she actually helps you and coaches you to do it. I'm just pulling up her Instagram so I get it right. So her name is Cindy. It's Zero Based Budget. That's her Instagram. So Zero Based Budget. She was actually featured on Good Morning America the other day about how she got out of over $200,000 in debt from student loans and, still went for it. So she has a good platform for helping individuals get out of debt and putting their money to work for them.
Nice. All the gems, drop it in the chat so everyone can know. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we do have so many questions in the chat. So I think if we get through maybe like 3 more, that'll be great. And like I said, follow all of these lovely people on LinkedIn, stay connected. And, they all have amazing platforms and services that can be of benefit to you guys. So Malik asks, back on the Roth IRA conversation, what are your thoughts on Roth conversion? Considering the tax that you have to pay once the money is converted, would you recommend doing it all at once or piecemeal? I know you said that with Roth, you don't have to pay those taxes. So maybe it's just a little bit more about the different funds and accounts that we're talking about.
Well, so I think Malik is talking about a Roth conversion, so meaning he already has some money in a traditional or rollover IRA, but he wants to switch it into a tax-free option. And he is right, he does have to pay taxes if he does that. Mm-hmm. Really what the strategy is, number one, you wanna have somebody that looks at your taxes first. What I always say is try and fill up whatever tax bracket you're in, so you won't really feel it as much. But what I would do is stagger it, depending on how much you have in your rollover IRA. If you're still building it and it's not too much, you could just do the whole thing this year. What I would say is try and break it up across 3 years and do it. We are in a low tax environment right now, but you really want to make sure that you have someone look at it, a CPA like Shania, or having a financial professional, just to make sure that you're doing it the right way and you won't get hit with an incredibly large tax bill.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that slightly, I think trying to do it in a year that you may not incur a lot of income is key, right? Because the entire, or whatever you roll over, or I guess convert to the Roth structure, is taxed at your income rate. So if you have a year that you're like going to business school or taking a year off of traveling or doing whatever, and you're not making money, that's a great year to think about doing a conversion to a Roth structure.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely helpful. I was a little bit confused. So we have a question about desktop trading platforms. Do you guys have any ones that you guys recommend? Is Google Premium worth it?
I think that I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think investment technology and trading technology has gotten really democratized over the last couple of years. You see all the major custodians going to free trading, right? So it doesn't cost money to trade equities, and it's very little to trade options and buy options. Google Premium it definitely costs a premium, right? I think you can accomplish the things you want to accomplish probably on TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab or Interactive Brokers, right? So I think it depends on what you're trying to do. I can't really tell if you're trying to buy and sell put options, or if you just want to buy stocks, or it depends on what you want to do, but I think there's a lot of low cost options out there that are pretty powerful and have powerful research associated with them.
Nice. So our last question will be, what are the most common struggles you see entrepreneurs go through when they're first starting their business? Like, for example, starting from working at a company and then being self-employed.
I guess the biggest struggle would be unpreparedness, for sure. People love to skip over the business plan stage when you're jumping into starting a business, but I do think it's very important. Your business plan is going to outline your mission, your vision, your product or service, who you're marketing to and how, and your financial structure. Those things are essential. Like, it's easy to build off of something when you have a strong structure. A lot of entrepreneurs just want to jump into it because they see everybody doing it, and like they get there and like, you know what, this is not for me. It's not that it's not for you, it's because you weren't prepared, So take a step and plan. I don't think you need to plan forever. Like, I didn't plan forever. I think I took probably 2 or 3 months to come up with my whole plan of what I want to do. Don't delay it like, oh, I've been planning my business for 2 years, but still do take some time to actually plan and understand what you're getting yourself into, because it's not a joke. The same way investing is risky, where you can dump all your money into a stock and it could be worthless, your business can turn out the same way. You can go ahead and invest all of this money into equipment, materials, and then nobody wants to buy your products. So product research is very important. Service research is very important. Doing comparative analysis to other people who are doing things similar to you to see what programs they're offering or products that they're serving, who they're serving, and how. That's very, very important. You want to, and again, so my client actually has this phrase trademark, but you want to power your launch, right? You want to make sure when you're starting off, it's going to be from 0 to 100 real quick, because you have bills to pay, right? So take your time and really outline what you want to do. You don't want to jump into it and be a mess, and that includes your finances. You should understand the basis of bookkeeping, because that's very, very important. If you are starting a business where you want to get the loan down the line and you don't have your finances together, you can't talk about your numbers, you're not going to get that credit line or that loan. So again, just understand the fundamentals of what being a business owner is, so that when you're in it, you already know what to expect. Like, you can't calculate everything, but why not calculate as much as you can?
Nice. Thought we were going to lose you really quick. So just to wrap up, I do want to ask the panelists 1 or 2 more questions really quick. Thank you guys for, bringing this super engaging conversation. So Chelsea, as a financial planner, when do you think is the time for someone like us, millennials, young Black people, to hire a financial planner? Because I thought I knew it all until this conversation today. But now I might need to hire a financial planner to get my life together.
Yeah, so I'd say really the best time is when you have life transitions. So the key ones are like marriage, kids, big career, or some sort of lifestyle changes. So even if you're moving from a career where maybe you were making, I don't know, 70 to 80, and now you just jumped up, you got a big tech job at Google, and now you're at over $100,000, et cetera, and now you have more money, and you need to make sure that it's going to the right places. That's when you really want to start with a financial advisor. Anything other than that, I would say really encourage you to get a financial coach to really just start to set the foundation. And then from there, that's when you can really start to build wealth and really figure out what's best for you. And then also you just want to make sure when you're doing your due diligence, do your research and make sure you know what the fees are and what you're really getting yourself into. Is this a one-time transaction? Is this an ongoing relationship that we're going to have? You want to make sure you're doing your research and interview a few people. But I'm very interested to hear when people should hire you guys.
I guess I'll start with that. Me personally, I like to work with people that are open to change, I would say, because a lot of what you're currently doing is probably not working for you. So that's probably the reason you're reaching out for a financial professional in the first place. So if you're open to understanding that some of the things that you're doing needs to change, and you're willing to make that change, I'm really willing to work with you. My firm, we don't really have any limitation of who we can work with from a financial perspective. So there's no like income threshold or portfolio threshold that you have to come in with. It's just, more so depending upon what you have, it's so much flexibility I can have with you. So I work with the client that's just, starting out, whether it's as simple as opening a brokerage account just to save monthly, or getting a basic term insurance to protect their family. So I work with people from all ends of the spectrum, whether it's accumulating or you're planning for retirement or in retirement.
So I have to go. I have like 2% left on my battery. There's no lights where I'm at. So I'm going to just say my piece. So you want to contact the CPA before you're starting your business so that you can understand what it takes to get into it, for sure. So I do private business coaching, which you can, book me for. And then even when it comes down to understanding personal finance as it relates to taxes or starting a side business, you want to contact the CPA. So I'm always here to work. I'm so sorry I have to go, but again, I have 1% that I'm holding on to. So I hope everyone took a lot from this conversation. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at the People CPA. Hope everyone has a good day. And thank you so much, Michelle and Chelsea, for inviting me. Thank you to Tevin and Jason for having me. And I hope everyone has a good day. Bye.
Thanks, Shania.
Thanks, see ya.
Thanks, Shanae, you've been great.
I think just to follow up on all that, I think it's really about when you want to make change in your life and get an objective third party to help provide advice on the things that are going on. To Chelsea's point, going through life events are a great time to get some objective opinions. My firm, we don't discriminate. We work with everybody who's trying to make a change and create wealth. A lot of our clients have negative net worth, right? They have more student loans than they have assets, or have low income, but they want to create change. And, I think our programs are set for people that are looking to really come up and make a difference in their own life, but also their family's life, their community's life. So, I think it's different for everybody. I sometimes equate it to getting a fitness professional, right? Like you can work out on your own. There's plenty of gyms and ways for you to work out. But getting serious and getting an accountability partner and a fitness trainer, it's kind of the next level and the next step when you want to change, when you want to make real change. It's the same thing with our industry.
Definitely. So make sure you guys drop all of your links in the chat so people can contact you, people can book you, because, we're all trying to build this Black wealth for sure. And last but not least, what is one key action item that we can all do today to really set ourselves and our families up for financial success? Give your last gem, your last key, everything. So
I'm actually going to steal this from one of my coworkers that works on my team. And he always says, there's something called the rule of 72 in finance, where it basically tells you how many years it'll take an investment to double based off of the interest that you're earning from it, right? But we look at it from another aspect. It's more so that, you have 72 hours after this conversation to really apply what you've learned here. Because after 72 hours, 9 times out of 10, it goes out the window because you have new problems from the past 3 days entering your life. So I would challenge everyone to, take the next 72 hours to do something actionable that you heard from this conversation, whether it's opening that new high yield savings account, setting up systematic withdrawals from accounts, opening a brokerage account, whatever it may be, or even if it's just simply talking to someone about how to take your finances to the next level. It's apply that in the next 72 hours, otherwise you're going to lose it.
Yeah, I would say, as a takeaway to this, you guys are all woke now. You heard some great advice from some great people. Go tell somebody else about something you learned and change that you're going to make in your life, right? Somebody that cares about you and you care about, they'll hold you accountable. Your statement will hold you accountable, and they may learn something that can help them. Knowledge is power. And I think spreading the knowledge that you learn in environments like this is critical.
And I think a great summary based on what Tevin, Jason, and even Shania said also is we need to have this conversation and we need to have it more. We did it today on Wealthy Wednesday, but really encourage everyone to continue this conversation, have it frequently, have it daily, and then really prioritize your wealth in your life.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you guys, attendees, for taking time out of your night to learn more finance. Thank you, Tevin, Chelsea, Jason, and Shania for dropping all the finance gems. Like I was even, trying to take notes. I'm going to watch the recording later. But you guys have been great. I'm going to leave the chat open for everyone to, see what was written and any last minute updates that you guys had. But I really appreciate you guys. It's been a great conversation, and have a good night.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle.